So today we are talking about voice user interfaces. As you know that voice user interfaces are quickly becoming popular these days. They are being used in a lot of devices such as smartphones, smart home devices, and a range of other products. What exactly are voice user interfaces? They are basically consisting of speech recognition technologies that allow the user to control a computer or a device using their voice. So how does a voice user interface work or VUI work? A user is going to speak with the interface. So in this case, a user is speaking with Alexa. Alexa sends this voice to a back-end server through a cloud. And at the back-end server, the user's voice is processed and then converted into an output that could be voice based, and it could also be accompanied by text or graphics, and then it is sent back through the cloud back to the voice user interface and then communicated back to the user through one or more medium. So how do we recognize something? How do we recognize a voice user interface? So it is usually it's an invisible interface that users cannot really look at again. And it really has no navigation for the user. It's supposed to be extremely intuitive. Users need to know or figure out how to use it. And the interaction with the user is mostly verbal, although sometimes nowadays we are having multimodal VUIs. And it's going to be very unfamiliar for users who are used to GUIs. Okay, so how did this technology came into existence? So the first VUI was created by the Bell Labs in 1952. So that's almost a half a century before Siri and Alexa came to the scene. The VUI created by Bell was called Audrey, and it wasn't able to give us very accurate information about weather or kitchen napkins to order or whether we are interested in listening to a joke, but it was very good at recognizing numbers that are spoken into an ordinary telephone. So it would do the dialing for us. And then fast forward 2000s, we started seeing advent of interactive voice response systems that were able to understand the numbers that we were giving to it. They weren't really good at recognizing voice still, but they could do fairly advanced tasks such as booking a flight or checking stock quotes. What people could do was they could dial a service, and the service would do very specific tasks for the user. So Audrey wasn't very good at recognizing speech, right? But it was very good at recognizing number. And now we are in an era where we are talking about having not just speech recognition systems, but we are talking about systems that can act as our personal assistants. So meaning that they not just understand our voice, but they really understand us as humans. They understand our feelings. They tell us what is appropriate to do and what is not appropriate to do in a certain situation. So it's very important to understand the difference between two terms, VUI and a voice assistant. VUI is basically an interface that allows people to use their voice as input to control computers and devices. So instead of typing or tapping on the screen, you will be speaking to a screen, or the screen doesn't even have to be there. On the other hand, voice assistant is a digital assistant that uses voice recognition, natural language processing, and speech synthesis, all these advanced technologies to provide users assistance with the tasks that they need help with. So, for example, with Alexa, you can access your calendar, you can send SMS messages, you can book train tickets, order pizza, or check your bank balance. A lot of information from lots of resources are all pulled together place and access via voice. So basically, voice assistants are smarter and they're usually using artificial intelligence technologies to achieve users' goals. So the main difference is that all voice assistants have a voice interface, but voice interfaces aren't always an interface to a voice assistant, meaning that a VUI is not necessarily going to be providing you assistance with a lot of advanced tasks that you need. They are just going to be just merely responsive to your voice. So let's talk about Alexa a little bit more. So Alexa is a technology that it responds to the voices of a lot of people. It's a multi-user interface and it supports families in achieving different goals. Families can play games, they can interact with each other, they can listen to jokes. So there are different types of VUIs. First is called the directed dialogue interfaces, where the system is in control of the conversation. So meaning that it's going to ask specific questions and then it's going to require specific responses from the user. So very good example of this kind of VUI could be an interactive voice recognition system where it asks users specific questions or give users directions about how to use the interface. So for example, it can tell you if you want to speak with the customer service agent, hit 0. Or if you want to speak with the shipping department, press 2, and so on and so forth. The other type of voice user interface is the one which is more flexible in nature, meaning that it allows the user to take initiative, allows the user to come up with their own query and send that query to the system, and the system is going to be more intelligent in understanding what the user wants. The third type is the guided prompts, which you can think of it as a combination of the directed and flexible. If you make the systems too flexible, then sometimes people drift off, they start talking about something else. So guided prompts are going to prompt the user. They're going to ask users specific questions to make sure that the users are staying on track and using the interface properly. And then last type is the multimodal VUIs that combine graphical user interfaces with VUI. So for example, you're not just only speaking to Google, but sometimes if it's not really good at recognizing what you're saying, then you can actually correct how Google has interpreted you. So it provides you the keyboard so you can type or you can correct what the VUI has recognized. So why would anybody be interested in using VUI? So first of all, voice is straightforward and efficient. We all grew up with using this modality. We all grew up practicing this skill, so it's very easy for users to learn. It doesn't require a lot of training. And then it also reduces screen time. So there's a concern that is occurring these days that people are spending too much time in front of the screen, which is causing a lot of people some problems like eye strain or back problems. When with voice user interfaces, you don't have to be sitting in front of the screen. You can be speaking to the device or the computer just like you speak to another human being. And at the same time, you can be engaged in other tasks. So it not only reduces screen time and improves your health, but it also allows you to engage in other activity. You don't have to have your entire focus on the VUI. And for some users, obviously, it's more suitable. For example, people who are visually impaired, they can start using VUIs right away. And also it is going to be more suitable for them because they can't really see what's on the screen. And then sound itself, actually, it carries a lot of information about the user's personality, user's mood, maybe users' likes and dislikes. These are certain details that are hidden inside our voices and they can be captured, but obviously processing that information can require a lot of intelligence and we are not there yet, but it is possible. They might have some difficulty recognizing children's speech. for example, Alexa, that it's designed to be a multi-user system, but often it's not able to communicate very efficiently with children because children can have very high expectations of it. They might start considering that Alexa has answers to everything, but it doesn't. And also it has still, because it's not there yet, although it's much better than what it used to be, like back in the days of Audrey, it was only able to recognize numbers, but now it can very very accurately interpret and understand what we are saying. But at the same time, it cannot distinguish between users yet. So it cannot recognize users with their voice. It cannot decide which family member is talking to it at any time. And also voice recognition systems right now, they are not very well developed, so we cannot engage in a conversation with a VGUI in the same way we'll engage in a conversation with a human being, because VGUIs, they might not be able to show us empathy, or they might not be able to show us any emotions. Right now, they're just there to achieve certain tasks for us. For example, booking a flight, conducting a Google search query, finding out weather information. And then obviously there are many privacy concerns surrounding the usage of VGUIs, because VGUIs can only work with a backend server, and those backend servers are these days owned by big companies like Google and Alexa, Google and Amazon. There are some privacy concerns that they are listening to our conversations all the time. What are they doing with that conversation? How they're going to use it? We already know that they are tracking our voice and using it to send us targeted marketing. What else can they do with it in the future? So that there's a big privacy concern around usage of VGUIs. So what are some of the design principles? First of all, when we are going to design a voice user interface, then it has to be modeling a human conversation. People should feel like they're speaking to a human being. It has to be very natural, because the whole point of having a voice user interface was to give users something that they don't have to learn. So it has to be as close to human conversation as possible. So what we need to do is we need to understand how people speak with each other. And notice that people often interrupt each other in the conversation, especially when they are maybe already familiar with the topic, or when they already know, in a restaurant situation, when they already know what they're going to order, they don't have to listen to the entire menu. They need to have this feature, it's called the bargain feature, that allows the user to choose an option before the system has stopped telling them. And then the speech recognition systems need to be flexible, because people ask questions and seek information in different ways. Right? And also based on the context as well, people could be asking a question and it could mean something different. So speech recognition system, they need to be more intelligent in understanding where the user is going with this particular question. It's better to have, although we are trying to move away from the screen time, sometimes it seems like it will be better to combine VUIs with GUIs, because give users more flexibility with using the systems. So what are some design considerations? How to design systems that can keep conversation on track, help people navigate efficiently through a menu system, should be able to find what they're looking for fairly easily, and they should be able to recover from errors easily. And people who are getting lost, who are being vague about what they want, for example, from the system, it should prompt the user and keep them on track. When we are designing a VGUI, these are some of the things that we need to keep in mind, that how are we going to prevent users from being vague, how are we going to help them recover from errors, how are we going to make it easier for them to figure out what's available in this voice user interface. The second thing that we have to pay attention to is to understand what kind of a voice people are looking for, what kind of voice do they feel prefer to listen to or they're patient with. This means understanding our user, what do they want, and then designing our voice user interfaces based on that information.